Welcome to More Than Mindfulness. My name is Nesha Woodhouse, and I'm excited to share some thoughts with you today. Every soul at their core longs for the same things. We all long for a sense of mattering. We long to feel loved, to feel like we belong and we're accepted even though we are imperfect, and that our presence in this world is seen and valued. Every human being comes from the same place. We all come from the same source of divine light and love. This fact is very apparent when you look at two infants side by side. We would never look at two newborn babies and say that one is more important than the other. No one would look at two tiny, helpless infants and think one's not worth caring for or is unworthy of an abundance of love and nurturance. When most people see a baby, regardless of what the baby looks like or what the baby can do, the instinct is to attend to its cries when it's hungry or needs comfort, to gaze into the baby's eyes and seek for connection, to try to get the baby to smile, and to hug and snuggle every inch of its little body. One of the sad realities of the human experience is that because we are surrounded by other imperfect people, those things that we most long for and need often feel threatened. We've all had experiences where we make a mistake and it feels like love is withheld. We all have had experiences where we feel unseen or invisible. We all have times where our experiences in life are invalidated. We all have had times where we feel someone else is more valuable than us because of what they look like or what they can do, or because they have something that we don't have, or because of their personality. In this imperfect world, we are constantly receiving information from the outside that feels like a threat to what our soul most needs. And those experiences are their very own kind of trauma. Dr. Jennifer Finlayson 5 shared that when we start out in life, we are entirely validation dependent. There's no other way to do it. As children and youth, we look to parents and to teachers, our peers and caregivers to give us an idea of who we are and whether or not we matter. We are psychologically dependent. In developmental psychology, it is understood that humans can sustain themselves physically much sooner than they can sustain themselves psychologically, which is interesting. When we're young, what often motivates us is a desire to receive approval and validation, because those feelings feel linked to our inherent value. And when we don't receive that validation and the approval, it feels like a threat to our sense of belonging and security. However, the fact is that we are human beings and we're imperfect. And because of this, we often disappoint people. And this is the inherent state of what it is to be human. And oftentimes what happens throughout our lives is we are treated with what feels like rejection or disdain and withdrawal when a part of us is different or it doesn't fit the standards of the groups of our peers or our caregivers. From those places of pain, we develop coping strategies to help us either hide from the hurt or to desperately try to prevent invalidation through our good behavior. Numbing might be things like overindulging in food or shopping, drug use, pornography, playing too many video games, watching too much TV, just escaping. Anything to avoid dealing with the thoughts in our head and the feelings in our heart. It may be disengaging and isolating ourselves from other people. Or we might become controlling in some way to prevent the pain. This can look like being hypervigilant, perfectionistic, overfunctioning, overaccommodating, trying to control the way that other people see us. I am going to be so good in some way, so perfect, that I won't disappoint or I won't let others down, so that no one can ever accuse me of not being worthy of love and connection. And a big challenge is that second way of dealing with our pain, the perfectionism, the overfunctioning, the overaccommodating, are often validated by others. And that can reinforce our perfectionistic tendencies. It can give us a false sense that we are in control, that we can control our ability to receive the things that we long for. And because we start out life psychologically dependent, we find our sense of self, a sense of worthiness reflected through how others see us. We also sometimes believe that if we receive criticism or we disappoint others, that our worth is less. Often people who receive a lot of praise and validation from others find it can be like an intoxicating drug. It can be its own kind of coping strategy that keeps us stuck in an immature way of relating to ourselves and to others. We can find those things about us that receive praise from others and plug into them like an IV to receive a dose of specialness. The problem is, even though praise and compliments are nice, they are a false substitute for the things that we really long for and prevent us from becoming a psychological adult. To be able to function as a psychological adult, you have to grow out of that need of approval and start to focus on being a person that you respect. We have to develop a stronger sense of self and an internalized sense of morality. We have to lose our need for approval to find our strength. Tara Brach is the author of a book, Trusting the Gold. Shares how experiences in her early life as a child gave her the belief that her worth was dependent on her doing good in the world and making a difference. As a psychologist and meditation teacher, she would put on these events or retreats and see the difference that it made for people. And for a short time, she would feel good about herself. But after a day or two, she would feel an urgency to do more, and thus always lived in a state of some level of anxiety about her inadequacy for not doing enough good. And she developed health problems I believe in her 30s that limited her ability to be as productive as she wanted to be. But it also helped her to see that she was looking for a sense of worthiness from something that would never truly give it to her. That she was just as worthy of love when she was leading a retreat and helping others as she was when she was in bed struggling with her health. And she learned to disconnect from that IV drip because she realized her value had nothing to do with her abilities. And even though she was doing the same things, teaching meditation, helping others deal with trauma and difficult emotions, she was no longer doing it to feel good about herself. Can you bring to mind maybe something that you grasp for a sense of mattering that is outside of you? I'll give you some examples from my childhood. I used to sing for people and I did a lot of performing. And my little child self definitely felt a sense of mattering because of my set of pipes. And I remember after I would sing in church, I would feel a sense of excitement in interacting with the congregation after the meeting and receiving their praise for my beautiful singing voice. And it was definitely a source of a praise IV drip for me. And I also remember the anxiety I would sometimes feel when other people would get up to sing. Well, what if they were better than me? What if they were also a good singer? What would happen to my specialness? I also loved as a child my long blonde hair, and I was often told how pretty my hair was. I remember how terrified I felt when one day I decided to try a curling iron that had those teeth combs on it, and I wound it up all the way up to here, and it got stuck. I was about 8 years old, and I just had the thought, what if I have to cut off my hair? Who am I without my long blonde hair? And now as an adult, I can chuckle at those childhood narratives that as an adult, I'm continually uncovering other ways that I grasp for my sense of worth from things that are outside of me. Times when I still plug into an IV drip of validation about some part of my life and recognize that even though there are temporary moments of feeling good, of feeling loved and valued and praised for some outward manifestation, that what I feel most of the time when I'm seeking for my worth from anything outside of me is anxiety and worry, disconnection, and a grasping for something that I can just never quite attain. I had a recent realization of an aspect of my life that I'm still operating from a place of trying to prevent others from being let down, trying to prove that I'm doing enough, that I'm providing enough value, that I'm doing good enough. A place in my life that I am constantly over-functioning, over-delivering, and overdoing. And the challenge is this is also a place in my life where I receive a lot of praise, external success, and validation. And it's also a source of a lot of stress, anxiety, and exhaustion. And as I have been processing this and opening my awareness, I have realized that in life, there is always a cost to our choices. and that the cost of my relationship, the way it has been to this aspect of my life, has been myself, my health, my well-being, and another important relationship in my life that sometimes suffers because I'm too focused on another area. And yet I can feel this fear that I am scared to unplug that IV drip and trust that if I change my relationship to this part of my life and I let go of trying to control and make everything perfect and I stop overdoing, that the cost will be displeasing others or disappointing people. Do I have the faith that if I stop operating from fear and grasping in this part of my life, that I'm still worthy, that I'm good enough, that I'm still offering value and goodness to the world? So I'm going to invite you for a moment to take a conscious breath. We're going to go inside for a minute and bring some awareness to this aspect of ourselves. And I want you to just bring to mind something in your life that provides a lot of validation for you. And then after you've brought this forward, just ask, is this also a place where you feel a lot of anxiety and stress? And if so, ponder how come. Can you maybe shift the way that you relate to this part of yourself? What would it feel like to unplug from thoughts of how others perceive you and instead to ask yourself the question, do I respect the decision that I am making in this moment? And start to ask yourself questions more like, what does my soul need in this moment? Do I need rest? Do I need movement? Do I need connection? Am I grasping for others' approval? Am I trying to prove I am good enough? Am I trying to get others to see me a certain way? Am I trying to make sure that I am above reproach or criticism? Can I consider this truth instead? What I am looking for is already inside of me. That there is a space in me that is so connected to the divine, so full of light, truth, and love, that no one else can touch it or affect it. It travels with me everywhere, and I can be in a space with anyone or in any situation without it affecting my sense of who I am. This place in me knows how to spend its time and its energy. This space in me knows what is true and real. It views myself and others as we truly are, the same. It is full of love and openness. It shares and gives freely without regard for how it is received. It is not afraid to be seen completely. Peace is my natural state, and my soul knows it. When I am centered in this place, I find my true power. This is where everything is clear, and I can only provide this for myself. No one else has the answer to my peace and my happiness. Nothing from outside of this place is the answer to the longings of my soul. Connecting to this place is the answer. And I invite you now to bring your awareness back into your body. You're wiggling your fingertips. opening your eyes to notice your space and what is in front of you. Thank you for practicing with me today. Namaste.